Hey YouTube, it's Mr. One2 from Challenge Accepted, and today I'm with my grandmother and we're making pies. So she's going to teach me how to make two different types of pies. One's cherry and I believe the other one's apple. And so I'm going to learn how to make some pies today. So what do we need, Grandma?
First of all, we need to wash our hands.
Alright.
Then we have to, when we're preparing to make pie, we got to get our supplies out first. And we need 1 pound of Tenderflake. I like the golden, but this the white is good too. But the Tenderflake shortening.
Shortening?
And salt, table salt, and flour. This is particular flour is all-purpose flour. But a lot of people like pastry flour. But I use either one, whatever I happen to have. And you need a nice bowl that has sort of a sloped edges to it, and so that we can work in it easily. Measuring spoon for measuring the salt, and 1 cup measuring cup to measure the flour. And of course you need a rolling pin to work with. So first of all, we will put in 6 cups of flour. And when you dip the cup in the bag, make sure you level it off, make sure that it is a full cup of flour. Okay, 1. Should let you do that.
I was like, I wonder if she's going to let me do it, but I was letting her do it. The way you did, you rubbed it again.
It's important you remember how many you put in there. You get halfway through and then you think, oh, was that 3 or 4? Okay, now fill your cup again for about 1/2 flour, because we need flour for rolling our
So 1/2 cup?
yeah, give it possible, it doesn't matter. It's just what you're going to be, we can use for sprinkling our, for rolling the flour out. We may not use it all or whatever, but we need it as flour. Okay? So then we take and we put 2 teaspoons of salt.
2 teaspoons of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it not overly. So 1.
Okay, just sort of brush it around a little bit so that the salt mixes in with the flour. Now today we don't happen to have, when we were looking, we couldn't find our blender that we cut. We usually cut the shortening in with. So we'll do it a little differently. Can they see through all that?
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Another way you can do is just take your lard and lay it out and cut it into little pieces.
So she's cutting them lengthwise across the lard. And then making cubes out of it.
We will take a couple cubes. This is a little nice and shortening is quite soft. So we just sort of dump this flour, mix the flour a little bit, and then we'll tell you what to do as it goes on here. There, just so those cubes get covered with flour.
Squishing these things?
Not yet.
Oh.
Well, not really. Make sure that they're covered with flour at the beginning.
Alright.
Until we get all this in there, and that they're all covered with flour. And break them all those little pieces up in there, so that they tend to melt a little bit together because it is soft there. But make sure that they're all covered with flour on all sides. Otherwise, we'll end up a little bit harder to get it all what our final texture. And I forgot to say that in amongst what we gathered up is to have a nice large glass of ice water on hand, because when we put the water in, I find that ice water is better than just room temperature water. It helps in the mixing of them. Not necessary, but it's just a little
Trick.
A little trick to.
Trick of the trade.
Yeah. We had one of those blenders here. That's not the word that they use, but it's a little cutter that we use to cut all this in. Well, we wouldn't have to be covering quite as much with the flour here, but anyways, it will work out because we can make do with things even if we don't have all the utensils.
Because my mom doesn't bake. Yeah.
Okay, so now the next thing is I will take over here just a minute and then I'll let Ryan go back at it. But if you just pick it up carefully and then start rubbing it just gently, not squeezing. We don't want to squeeze when you're doing pastry. You don't want to squeeze it, but you want to rub it. And what we're wanting to do is make it, mix it well enough till what they call, till the flour and the lard, the shortening is put together in little, like pea-sized pieces. Okay. And so I'll let Ryan take over here because he's the one that's supposed to be learning how to do this.
You just kind of like rub your fingers together.
And just keep working it gently. Don't squeeze it. Just rub them in your hand. So that the form is going to go. And make sure you get down to the bottom and bring up more flour. Keep bringing more flour up because sometimes even though you're thinking you're reaching to the bottom of the bowl, at the end you're finding out that you've got some just dry flour there. So you've got to make sure you reach right to the bottom and keep bringing it up. See, that's forming, it's starting to form these little forms in there. But there's some big ones there yet, so the big ones have to get made into little.
Is that what you want? Just like rubbing your hands like that?
Yeah, just keep. No, that's not me to give you a little. Sometimes you can just go this way too. A little, just lightly, but not squeezing it. But just so that it starts rubbing, and then you're getting your those bigger lumps into the. Let's see. So it's starting to get pretty in there together pretty good, eh, Ryan? Mm-hmm. That's the way. I don't know whether the old-fashioned ones remember the old rivel soup. Well, this is sort of like making an old rivel soup, but how you mix the flour up together to make rivel soup. But it's the same principle.
You might have to teach me how to make river soup.
Well, rivel soup is just what you're seeing doing now, but you have a nice base of beef broth, and then as it's boiling, you just drop little bits of this into the beef broth.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Beef broth and pastries?
Mm-hmm. And it tastes really good. Okay, let's see how you're making out here. I think you're getting that pretty close to good. That's getting pretty good. Okay. Okay, so now what we do, oops, there's a couple of lumps there. You end up with too big of lumps there, then you end up, when you're rolling pastry, you end up with a streak of shortening there. And some people use lard, that's why you hear me saying lard once in a while. But basically when you use lard, you have, there's a few other ingredients that you add in with it. There, I think you're getting that pretty good. Okay, so now you can wash your hands, and you'll need a couple knives. And you're sort of level your it out like that, and then I make 3 holes in there, like that. Just 3 spots there.
Okay.
There. Okay.
So you want knives, you said?
Right here.
Okay.
In some water in each of the holes. Now, the amount of water you put in it is what, and how you put it in really makes your pastry. And so you take the, I said, told them to get two knives, and then you just sort of pick it up together like this, and start putting it together.
So knives are better than using spoons or forks or?
Well, if you got forks, you'll get the pastry in between the tongs, and a spoon tends to pack things a little more. Whereas the knife is still keeping you a little fluffy, and that. So now there's a little bit of lumping there, and then we'll add just a little bit more water, and we'll start doing that. Okay, Ron, you can try it a little bit there. And what we're trying to do is make that into a complete ball.
Into a complete ball?
Yeah. Okay, I'll just give you another little drop of water there. These ice cubes keep falling in there. Okay, and just scrape your knives off. There. Now, just take your hand and start gently rolling it together like this. And here again, don't squeeze, but just tenderly pat, but don't squeeze.
Okay.
It's a little different than really squeezing and squeezing gently. So this part has sort of formed, okay. Now, gather that a little bit, make sure that the flour at the bottom is up. There, now I just put it all together and just spread it together in a sort of like that. Okay, shaped like that. What's that? Okay, so now where'd that knife go? Just one. There. Everybody has a different way of doing this, dividing it up. So I usually cut it in half. And then, depending on the size of your pie that you have, after you do pie a little while, you sort of get an idea of how much you need to cut off. So, and usually this amount will give you at least 4 crust, double crust pie out of that. So Ryan, now is the fun of rolling.
Rolling.
Rolling. Yes, rolling. Now, you gently flour, just lightly flour. Now, just gently flour. There now. And then I flour both sides just by like this way. No. Just like this. Now you want this side floured and you want this side floured, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so there now. Now you put this in here.
This
like
is
that.
parchment paper.
Yeah, oh yes, this is parchment paper, by the way. There now. Now, start rolling. Now if you roll a little bit that way, just that. Okay, now turn your thing and get your edges down. That's the way. And the other. Okay, now you're going to see that this one's got a little sticky, and so you may have to add just a little bit of flour like that. And then if you take the, just a minute, and as you start from the center and you roll it Roll a little bit this way and just keep moving it around. Because you're wanting it to end up.
On this end, right?
On this, you're wanting to get the circle here so you can get it on the pie plate. And you need it big enough to go in your pie plate. Now will that pie go in there?
Close.
I think you need to work on the center out. Bring the center out. Now, this looks like we may need to have to add just a little. This is not ideal, but it looks like what's going to end up having to do because it doesn't, it's not going quite as far as it should have gone. So we just add a little bit here, and then you just have to work a little bit harder there. Well, this isn't a nice professional teaching by any means. This is just your general cooking out of the kitchen.
It's all in the taste, right? That's what Gordon Ramsay says. Might not look pretty, but as long as it tastes good.
So many people say that it's too hard to make pie. Okay, let's measure there, Brian, and see whether that's going to go in there or not. Now, well, that looks like you're doing a good job there now. So what you do is you take your top one off. You'll have to take it carefully so it's not sticking. Okay, pull it right off. Okay, you lay your pie plate right in the center. Put your hand underneath the thing and like that. Okay. Then you gradually push it to the edges. We've got a few more to do, so we'll let Ryan do it all himself the next time. But here I got my fingers in here a little bit. They're a little sticky this time today, Ryan. I think we got. When I touched that last bit of water, I dropped a little bit too much water in there, and it's made it just a little bit sticky for us. This isn't a very good example of pie. I mean, telling you. But anyway, maybe there. Well, at least it shows you that sometimes it isn't always perfect how you make pie. So then you take it and you cut it off, just around the edge.
Dressing the pie.
Okay, let me give you a hint here. As you're having trouble ripping the pie, use the edge as a That's why. Okay, that's number one. So now, Ryan, it's up to you now to get this pie filled up. And I just cut a little bit bigger piece than I did last time.
So you did about
a little bit more than that. Over a little bit more.
So like that much?
Okay, we're gonna get this stuff off of here first.
Just turn the paper over.
Do it this way. You need about an inch all around. When you lay it on top, you need about an inch around to be able to actually, because you got to allow for the lip of the dish. Okay. Yeah. So there now. Okay, now you can take that one off. And you can see that it's not so sticky this time. It was just that we added, and that's why I said the way that you add the water, it really makes a difference as to your. And if you add too much water, it becomes the pastry comes whole. There you are. There you go. That's the way. That's it. Now make sure you get this right in, or else you're going to have air bubbles underneath. So you have to make sure that you bring this right down in and sort of make sure it's really fitting the edge of your pie, or you'll end up with a big air bubble underneath your pie. There. Okay, now you can cut it off. So you don't want to spread it out too far because you don't want it only inside. And here again, I do it a little differently than a lot of people do. So I'll show you. You go ahead and get the top made, and then I'll explain to you. Now what I do is, well, I should have had it ready for me. I'll see what I can find in the cupboard here. Okay.
What are you looking for?
I need a little saucer. Oh, those are all square saucers. They're not good. Now, so there you are. That's just perfect, Ryan. That was just perfect size. Okay, take your paper off. Put it on there. Then take your knife and go around this way.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a plate or something, we'll have to set that aside because we need to have it after we fill it. Set it aside until we're ready to fill the pie itself. Okay, so we have this and this, and I imagine that much will probably make your one more that you just did. I find it easier. I know the handles are there to use, but I do find it easier just going in the center like this. And like this. And because otherwise, I don't know, I just don't get the same pressure on the
Handles?
On the handles as you do when you're pushing right down hard on here. And you don't mind, and you can squish your with this and make sure it's down. When it's a little sticky, sometimes it just sprinkle it with flour and gently, not a whole pile of flour, but just gently dust it with flour and then wipe it in. It takes that dusting off. Good. Okay, you can just leave it on the paper. Oh, take that off. But you can leave it on the paper now, because now you've got two pies. I'm just going to do just a little bit here, otherwise we'll have some brown edges that won't they'll cook before burn before the rest of it. There. Okay. Now, Ryan, you can open those cans, or open one can at a time, and we'll see what's in that can, whether it will be enough for one pie or whether we have to open. Nowadays it seems like the cans don't quite fill a pie anymore. So So you have to be aware of that because you think you're going to have stuff enough for one pie, and then your pie plate, when you get it all together, you're short.
So we're going to be using cherry filling for the first one.
Now, before you put that in there, you have to pick your pastry. And that's to keep the air bubble from air bubbling all up. So pick it about every few little bit around, and there. Okay, and you can do the next one. But you need a spatula to clean out your can.
A spoon?
Yep. Put it all in and see whether, I'm not sure whether we're going to need a part of another jar or not. So what do you think of that, Ryan? Do you think that's really a full pie, or do you not? Do you think you want more filling in that?
It's right on, it's like halfway full.
Yeah. That's where that's what I'm finding lately is these cans seem to be a little bit smaller than what they used to be. And so we'll have to open the second, I don't know whether you want to, do you want to do that, the second one, and then we'll have to,
Sure. I'm sure we can figure something to do with the cherries.
we'll do something with this pastry later.
Yeah. Maybe we'll, pastry tarts or something.
Yeah, we've still got a bit of pastry left over here that we'll remake other things, so we'll use the rest of the cherry in that. But fill it up to the way you want, not right up to the full, but
What do I do with my spoon?
yeah, you don't want it too full, but yet you like a nice supply. That should be, I think, good. Yeah, because you have to leave it down a little bit for bubbling, or you'll have it boiling all over the edge. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So now, you just take that, and what I do sometimes too is, before I put it on here, now that is cherry. So I put a C. Just cut it right in here. There, because you need air bubbles in your thing. So that means that you're going to have to be careful when you pick it up that C doesn't drop back down out of there. But just gently put your hand in underneath it, and that's the way. And then just place it right in the center, and that way. Now I know people will say that I like to have the dough right out and fruit the edges. Well, that's fine. You could do it that way and then just make a little bit bigger circle and put it out, and then you could fruit the edges. But but the way I do it here is I just take this edge now and I gently go over and just tip it over this way, like that, and sort of tip it down and just sort of cover the edge a little bit, if it doesn't have to be absolutely tight. But it also gives you the space for it doesn't boil over as much, and it works on. You can take your fork and just go like this, like that, all the way around your edge.
Back to the edge.
Yep. Tuck it right in a little bit. There. That's the way. Now watch the ends of your fork that you're not piercing it, because right here you pierced it a little bit, and what you're going to have is that juice is going to bubble up through on you, and you'll have a little bit of juice coming up through, and it might be a spot that it will want to run over, and that. So just watch as you're using your fork, that you're not making piercing in.
Okay.
There you are. There's number one, and now you can do the same thing. You're going to do apple for this one.
Yep.
And of course, using cans is also another cheater way of doing real apple pies. But if you want to have slice the real apples, and then you have to put sugar and flour, mix it with sugar and flour, and as far as the quantity is concerned, it'd be best to look up a recipe as to the equal amounts.
But it's our first one, so it's a cheater one.
Oh, you didn't pierce the...
Oh yeah, it's true. I did not pierce the bottom.
This can definitely would not have enough apples in it to make a whole pie. So when you're thinking of doing a pie, you basically need to make sure you have 2 cans of pie filling. I know you won't use the full 2 cans. As I say, when you're making pastry, quite often you have a little bit of extra pastry anyway, and then you can put it in a smaller container and use the same basic steps as you would a regular pie, and just put it in a smaller container. With apple pie, I like put a little extra lump apples in right in the center, and that's, yeah, like that. That looks good to me. Now, some people haven't got enough sufficient cinnamon for their liking. In apple pie, personally, I like to sprinkle a little cinnamon and perhaps just a little bit of nutmeg over top of even the canned pie filling, because I prefer to have a little bit of cinnamon and not heavy amount, just enough to sprinkle on it. So never thought to get that ready ahead of time, but what do you have, cinnamon? Okay, just sprinkle it on. You probably end up with about a quarter of a teaspoon, I would think. But yeah, that's the way it's sprinkled around. A little bit more up here. There. That's good. That's good. Okay, and then once again, now you take that one that you had on the plate and bring your. Now when I'm doing a lot of big batches of, put your apple on it, or you can do it afterwards if you want to. When you do big batches of pastry, now take your knife. Well, take your knife and put or yeah, you could just poke it whichever way, whatever design you want. Okay.
Big batches of pies.
Oh, big batches of pie. Then we will. I store some of the way either, and so we will. We may roll some of them and fill up all pie plates that you have, and then but just freeze your pastry in the freezer, just in the pie plate without any filling. Some people put the filling in too, but I never have as good a luck with that. I like to put my fresh filling in at the time. Well, do you think you're going to be a good baker there, Ryan? Looks like you're doing a pretty good job there.
Need a few more lessons, but we're getting there.
It takes a little bit of time, and you can, no matter how many years you do pastry, you can have a flump too. And once in a while, it just seems like sometimes. I think the weather has to do with it sometimes too, and and sometimes the pastry just turns out hard, and you want to give up on it. And the next time it will be really nice. And it's not that you've done anything particularly different. It's a lot of it is, as I said before, it's how you have added the water to your pastry, and how much you've had to work with it. And if it's too sticky and you've had to add too much extra flour, you can end up having hard pastry. There. Okay. Now, you're going to have to take a sharp knife and cut an opening down through the center, because it does need more air than just pierce it. Okay, that's good. Okay, so are you going to pop it in the oven?
So we set the oven to 400 degrees.
For 10 minutes.
And for 10 minutes.
And then we put it down to 350 for approximately 3/4 of an hour. Now, can you put your oven down one, the rack down one?
Yep.
Usually in the center of the oven is the best place to do pastry. And so while you have that in the oven, you can, if you're wanting to, you can roll the rest. You only have one more pie plate here, and so if you still have more done, you can always roll it in a ball and put it in the freezer, and then bring it out and let it thaw out, and then roll it once it's completely thawed out.
Right. So for that one
Do you
there.
want to do one more, or that would just be, well, we got that. I don't know whether you, well, what we can do is
Make a mixed pie.
we can do a pen.
So make a mixed pie.
Yeah, we can do a, you know, put half and half. Okay, so
So after the 10 minutes are up, we go to 350 for 45 minutes.
about 45 minutes, yeah. So until it's nicely brown, and then and it's starting to bubble out a little bit on the edges. You need that little bit of bubbling to be able to tell that it's completely done. Using the canned stuff, you don't need to worry about the things not being cooked. The fruit has already been partially cooked, and so it's different than using raw fruit. And so therefore, just as soon as it starts bubbling in, the biggest thing is that the pastry is cooked through, and it has a nice golden appearance to it. And then you can tell that the pie is done.
Okay.
Okay?
So 10 seconds here. Take these ones out.
Oh, the first 10 minutes is done.
Yep.
So now he has to raise it up to, just leave it in there.
Oh. So lower the temperature down
Now just lower the temperature down.
to 350.
Yeah, to 350, and put it at least 45 minutes. You'll check it at 45 minutes. Sometimes it needs the extra 10 or 15 minutes.
Alright,
Hey,
so stay tuned. Well, we've finished our pies. We got our apple pie and our cherry pie that came out. They leaked a little bit, but yeah, this is how our apple pie and cherry pie came out. And so we put it for 350, and we did 50 minutes instead of 45 minutes to give it a little bit extra cooking time, and maybe we put a little bit too much filling in it, but looks pretty good, and tonight we'll try them out. Hopefully you like this video. Comment, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for future videos.